Hey there, welcome to a video discussing data analysis for the statistics project or the last spring final project. So I want to help you guys with part 3 of the project. Obviously, I'm not on campus today. And you guys have, created your surveys, which is good. So you guys get your 10 points for that. Don't worry about sampling design. We just surveyed a whole bunch of people. We're not going to draw a sample from the people who respond to your survey. We'll just think of the survey as being a sample from the community. Obviously, you have to submit a short paper, like just a couple paragraphs of what the project's about. I haven't schooled you for that, but if you haven't done so, please do so today because I'll be looking at it this weekend. Part 2 is the collecting the data. So make sure also you share your survey with me as well as the spreadsheet of the data. I can show you how to do that really quick in this video. It's not that hard. Some of you guys have already done that, but yeah, if you just share that by email, that'd be awesome. But really, let's focus on part 3, analyzing your data. So hopefully this video will be a good resource. Definitely watch during class today and then use it. Or if you want to do, if you have work for another class, like maybe a more pressing paper project that's due, then you can maybe do some analysis over the weekend or early next week. And I'll definitely check in with you guys when I'm back on campus on Tuesday to see how this is going. It shouldn't take too long to do this analysis. So again, you're going to write a report. There's no page limit, but it should be typewritten, obviously, neat, well written, so take it seriously. And any plots you can make, you can just copy and paste them to your paper. You can do it by hand, but I think it's going to be easier to do it in Google Sheets, which I'm going to show you in just a sec. So parts A, B, and C are done already, if you think about it. Part A is the overview from part 1. So basically, whatever you had in part 1, you basically wrote your intro, right? So whatever you put here that was due on Wednesday, just throw it in the beginning of the paper. The survey you used, just whatever Google document you have, like just maybe copy and paste those questions, or do a screenshot and put those questions in the paper, or just type the questions up. But just you can put a little section saying survey, here are the questions, easy. Your raw data. So again, you can copy and paste or do a screenshot of the spreadsheet. So for example, I have a spreadsheet that I'm working on right here. You could just copy and paste that data into your paper, good enough, right? So that works for me. So the first 3 items should be already done. You shouldn't have to do any extra work for that. That's all just basically parts 1 and 2. Like these were part 1, and that was that's part 2. So very, very easy, right? Not that hard. So and yeah, definitely make sure you share your data with me today by email. But what I really want to focus on this video is parts D and onwards. Definitely part D, E, and F, because that's where you're going to have to, and G as well. That's where you have just Google Sheets to analyze your data. Then H is just kind of something you do on your own. I can give you some ideas in this video. So if we look at part D, a box plot, okay, make sure they're titled, labeled, and contain axis that is scaled appropriately. So let me show you the data I actually didn't doctor it, but I just made this up, hours of sleep, GPA, number of AP classes, and income after college. So let's say I surveyed 25 students. You can see it goes from row 2 to row 26. And again, I totally made up this data, but it seems reasonable. Like maybe some people only get 4 hours of sleep per night. Some people get maybe 10 hours of sleep per night. Some people in between. GPAs range from about 2.5 to 4.0, or someone's getting 4.3 or whatever. Number of AP classes you've taken at Sacred Heart Prep. Some people have done in the double digits. Some people like just a handful. And the income you want to make after college, maybe someone wants to make $100,000 a year. Maybe someone's cool for $40,000. So anyway, that's just some data we have here. So before we do the box plot, one thing I'd probably recommend that you do is to come up with a 5-number summary for each column. 5-number summary just means you're going to tell me the min, the max, the median, the first quartile, and the third quartile. Let's throw in the mean and mode. That might be interesting to take a look at. So we can maybe do 7 numbers perhaps. So I'm going to copy these labels here. And let me expand that just a tad. Okay. And then we're going to do min, max, median, Q1. Actually, let's do this in order. Q1, median, Q3, max, and then mean and mode. So, and then you could just do this equals min, and just copy and paste. Very easy. Then equals median. Just drag. Oh, in the wrong place. You'll have to change that to A2 and A26. My apologies there. Okay, Q1, you're going to do equals, and then if you do quartile, and we'll do quartile and include, and we're going to go from here, and then you're going to put 1 because it's the first quartile, and then I could copy and paste that here, but we got to go from A2 to A26. That'll be the third quartile. There we go. Max equals max. Drag again. A mean is the true average. If you add up all numbers divided by the number of numbers, that's going to be our average. And do not want A1, so A2. What happened there? Oh, you have to have this average. Okay, it's being lame. There we go, average. And then finally, mode equals mode. You're curious to see what number shows the most often. And apparently most people get, or 7 shows up as most often hours of sleep. Also, it's nice to center this. So center our data for our analysis. Okay, great. Let's bold that. Perfect. And maybe make it into a nice little table. And maybe make this a nice little table also. Perfect. Okay. Now GPA. Now here's the lovely thing with doing this analysis. Because you've already done this for the first column, you could just simply drag. Let's try it again. Just drag it to the other columns. And there you go. So the lowest GPA is 2. The first quartile is 3.1. The median is 3.8. Now, great inflation, right? Q3 is Q4. Max is 4.3. Mean, mode. So the number shows most often. Number of AP classes taken at Sacred Heart. Min's 2. Max of 12. Q3, so forth. And in income, seems like most often was $100,000. Max and so forth. So that's just kind of nice to have a kind of a aerial view of what our data is looking like, right? So even though you're not asked to do that, it's good to do it to accompany your box plot, because the box plot's going to be a data visual of those metrics. Now, how do you do the box plot? So you're asked to do a box plot for each quantitative variable. Quantitative, not all of you have 4 quantitative variables. Some of you have like categorical variables, but that's okay. Just do it for the quantitative variables. So for hours of sleep, I'm going to just highlight that. Insert. I'm going to do chart. And it's going to, by default, do a scatter chart, which makes no sense, obviously. Scroll down, and you're going to pick the one that says Candlestick Chart. Oh, okay, that is, oh, okay. So, yes, I remember this issue I had earlier. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. To do the Candlestick Chart, we do need min, Q1, median, Q3, and max. Actually, we'll probably leave out the median because it doesn't like to do that. So let me rearrange this. This is going to be a little interesting. So yeah, so I'll do this, hours of sleep. And then I'm going to just, I could just kind of just type it in 4, 6, 8, and 10. And let me actually insert one row above. Whoop. Insert cells, shift down. There we go. So this will be category or variable. Min, Q1, Q3, max. There we go. And let's go ahead and center that and bold it. Okay. Then we have GPA, AP classes, income. Okay. And we're going to just, 2, 3.1, 4, and 4.3, 2, 6, 9, and 12, 40,000, 70,000, 100,000, 150,000. Okay, now I'm going to do my box plot. So go back to insert, chart. That is not what I want. So we want to go down to Candlestick Chart again, and there you go. So there's your box plot. You can see that the high is 10, the low is 4, the first quartile is 6, upper quartile is 8. Doesn't show the median, but that's okay. And hours of sleep. Probably will want to, well, I guess you don't have to do any more labels. You could just label it in your paper itself. You could put like in Microsoft Word, whatever word processing software you're using. You could call it figure 1, or here's box plot for hours of sleep, So just make sure you label it in the paper itself. And then you kind of rinse and repeat for GPA. We'll just do it one more time. So insert chart. Again, it's going to give you something really weird. Scroll down to Candlestick Chart, and there you go. So I'll leave for you to do the other box plots for your data. And actually, let me add another sheet and put the data visuals in there. So maybe I could call this like data and visuals. And maybe I could just copy, come on, paste. And maybe just get rid of that, so it's not distracting. Copy, and paste. Get rid of that. Okay, and I won't do it for the other ones because you get the idea. So that's the box plot. Then next up, you're asked to do 2 scatter plots. And you can choose what you want to do scatter plots. You could compare the first 2 variables, the last 2 variables, or maybe the second, third. It's up to you. Whatever you find interesting. So maybe I'm curious to know about hours of sleep and GPA, and maybe AP classes and income. Maybe we could do that. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight these first 2 and go to insert chart. And I don't care for line charts, so I want to scatter. There we go, scatter. And don't know why it is doing that. That is being weird. Maybe because I highlighted the categories. So let's do that instead. Let's try a second time. Scatter plot. Okay, I am a bit perplexed here why it's doing this. Here we go. Maybe I'll do the one that's suggested. Okay, that's much better. Okay, that was weird. So we're curious to see if the hours of sleep, how that correlates with GPA, right? Is there gonna be a correlation there? And let me go ahead and copy and paste this into visuals, so it's not distracting. And then what I'm going to do is, if you just click anywhere, usually the chart editor should pop up, and we're going to go to customize. Actually, let's go to setup. My bad. And let's go to there we go. Sorry, my bad. A little rusty with this. Go to customize, go to series, and then you're going to select trend line. So it draws the best fit line, show R squared, and also show the equation. So if you go to custom, use equation. And so you can see that gives us the equation. This is R squared. This is the trend line. And so that kind of takes care of several things for us here. This says, definitely you want a correlation coefficient, coefficient determination, and LSR, the least squares regression line. So this stands for the best fit line, just so you know. So scatter plot done. and it's labeled. Correlation coefficient, correlation determination, least squares. Let me show you exactly what those are. So R squared, that is the coefficient of determination. Okay, that's a coefficient of determination. And what that means, if I put this in as a text box, this means that 21.8% of the variability or the change in a GPA can be explained by hours of sleep. So whatever changes you see in your GPA, 20.8% of it is attributed towards hours of sleep. So hours of sleep has about 20% impact on your GPA. Okay, this is what the data shows. I mean, obviously I made up this data, but I try to be reasonable or rational. I made up the data like that. That seems somewhat realistic. But yeah, that's what it tells us. So then if I square root that, if I square root R squared or take the square of 0.218, that's where you just use a calculator or your cell phone or whatever is easier for you. If I take the square of 0.218, I get 0.467. So that's my correlation coefficient, which is pretty strong. And then the best fit line is right here. So we can use this line to predict what your GPA is depending on the hours of sleep you get. So let's say you know for a fact you sleep like 7.5 hours every night. So you multiply this by 7, add 4.87. I mean, it's not a very accurate formula, but you know, it's a good estimate. And if I were to work that out, so my GPA should be about 3.5. Because the slope is negative, there's an implication that if you don't sleep, it means you're up studying, and that probably you'll have a higher GPA as a result. Of course, it's not good for your mental health when you're not sleeping much, but that's what some people do to get high grades, right? And maybe someone who sleeps a lot, maybe they're dealing with other stuff, maybe they're not well, they might have a lower GPA as a result. Maybe they, because I mean, sleep is good, don't get me wrong. But if someone's sleeping 12 hours a day, that's a little unusual. So maybe they might need to get that checked out. So it's interesting when you look at the data and what story it tells you. So that's the scatter plot. And just to show you one more time how we do the scatter plot, let's say I do the number of AP classes income after college. So again, select the data. Let's not select the categories or the labels. Go to insert, go to chart. It's going to give you something really weird. Just go to suggested to the scatter chart right there. Again, I don't know why that was acting weird for us. So I couldn't tell you. Yeah, it's being weird. So anyway, let's go to suggested. There we go. So income after college and number of AP classes. Yeah, you could see that if you take more AP classes, probably you're going to make more money, or well, you think you're going to make more money because you're taking some hard classes. I don't know if that makes sense, but and again, to do the best fit line, go to customize, go to series, make sure you select trend line. Obviously, it's got to be linear. Show R squared, and for label, do use equation. And you can see, there's a formula that tells us what our income would be depending on how many AP classes we take. R squared is really strong here. Okay. So yeah, so 50.9% of the variability income can be explained by the number of AP classes you take. Always be mindful of what you put as X and Y. Would X explain Y? So Y should be more the response, right? Let's say I want to compare GPA and income. Sometimes that's done often in, analysis of like college graduates. But if you're going to select columns that are not right next to each other, use control. If you hold control and then highlight, then you can then insert. And then obviously we're going to go for suggested scatter plot. There you go. Scatter plot there. Oh, I have to delete that label, but let's delete that. So that takes care of scatter plots and the correlation coefficient and all that stuff. Then we look at G, trends in your data. How is it distributed? Any outliers you notice? Relationships is more talking about the scatter plots, like what trends you're noticing. You know, is it a strong correlation, moderate, weak? Those are things I could help you with on Tuesday for sure. But you could probably start writing about it if you know. Or lurking variables. I mean, maybe what we could have asked, and this could be definitely for the last part as well, part H. Maybe we could have asked, like, you know, how many hours of tutoring do you get? You know, would that explain like the higher GPA? Maybe you have, you know, or maybe how much money you're paying in tutoring. Maybe you have a high quality tutor, or maybe it could be, you know, I don't know, just trying to think maybe how quiet or how big your house is. Maybe you have a space that's easier to study. I don't know. There's a lot of different things you could that could be lurking variables that play a role here. So, or it could be yes, no questions about, like, you know, maybe if you have an older sibling, or maybe yes, no, you do have a tutor. Sometimes we could see differences in the data that way. So yeah, of course, it could be lurking variables that could explain why people might not be getting enough sleep, or higher GPAs, or AP classes, or income after college. A lot of different things that could play a role with that. But let's talk about distribution though. So what you're going to want to do for part G, part A of part G, that's kind of where I should be using Roman numerals for that, or different label numbering system. But what you're going to want to do is do a histogram. So you want to do a histogram for trends. And that's how you can view the distribution and see if there's any skew to your data, or if it's symmetric. So go back to our data again. Let's look at maybe hours of sleep and see how that's distributed. So I'm just going to highlight that. You go to insert, you go to chart, and usually it's going to suggest a histogram. So right there, there's a histogram chart. And so it's not quite a bar plot. A bar plot is usually for categorical data. This is for numerical data or quantitative data. So you can see that it's probably skewed to the right a little bit, I'd say. I wouldn't say it's symmetric. Probably 10 is an outlier. If you really want to verify if it's an outlier, there is let me copy and paste that to our visuals. Center it. But yeah, if you did want to calculate any outliers, what you would do is you do 1.5 times IQR, the interquartile range. Your interquartile range is going to be, for hours of sleep, looks like 2. So obviously 1.5 times 2 is 3. So then you want to see, and then you do Q3 plus that number. Well, Q3, of course, is 8 plus 1.5 times 2. So anything more than 11 hours of sleep would be considered an outlier. So we don't really see any true outliers here. But if someone does sleep 12 hours, that'd totally be an outlier. On the flip side, you do Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR on the low end. So Q1, of course, is 6 minus 1.5 times 2. So I'm getting fewer than 3 hours of sleep. That's really dangerous. That's not good. That would be an outlier also. Fortunately, we don't see that. But that's how you could also verify if you have any outliers, by just going through that very simple calculation. And some of you could probably even do in Excel as well to kind of figure out what's the outlier on the low end, outlier on the high end. The data could show it too, because sometimes you have the histogram will be like way off to the right or something, or you have a bar way off to the left. Let's try it again for income. I suspect we might have an outlier here. We'll go insert, chart, and great, gives a histogram again. And then see, it kind of gives us a range from 40,000 to 63,000. You could change the scale if you want. It's up to you what you want the minimum maximum to be. But what they gave us as defaults is fine. And anyone that makes over 132,000. So this is definitely skewed to the right, because majority of people are happy with somewhere between $60,000 to $80,000 after college. Some people really want to make a lot of money, so this is definitely skewed to the right. And the reason why it's skewed to the right is that if you look at the mean is definitely going to be higher than the median. Let me copy and paste that over here. Let's delete that. Yeah, you can see the mean income is definitely higher than the median. And so what's happening is that you have that outlier, the 150,000, that's probably pushing it, the distribution more to the right. So Q3 was 100,000. So if I did 100,000 plus 1.5 times my IQR. My IQR for income was 30,000. Yeah, so 150,000 is definitely an outlier. So someone who really thinks they're going to make a lot of money just after 4 years of college. So yeah, they're but you know, outliers are special, unique people. So maybe this person will have a special skill. Who knows? But you know, again, you know, there's a story that comes with the data, right? Yeah, and then you discuss challenges you face in collecting and analyzing the data. Like maybe we should have asked other questions. Like, you know, like in the case here, maybe I should have asked, hey, you know, do you have a tutor? Or tell me about your parents' education level. Tell me where you live, perhaps, maybe, or how big your house is. Maybe you have a space that's, you know, or how many times are you distracted, or whether or not you're on social media, how many hours you spend on social media. There are a lot of things that goes into this stuff. You know, usually when you do a survey, you want to do a slew of questions and really carefully craft it. But, you know, we're doing something simple here. So anyway, hopefully this gives you an idea of how to go about the analysis. And then, of course, we'll just present all this stuff on Thursday of next week. But definitely make some headway with this stuff. So don't leave all this to do on Tuesday. Try to make some progress. It doesn't take too long. As long as you have like D, E, F, and G in histogram, have those visuals done today or before Tuesday. Then I'll help you with like, you know, the data storytelling and how to actually go about your presentation, like, you know, the relationships in the data, you know, biases, relationships, center spread, shapes. Those are things I'll help you with that you can definitely put in your slides. So anyway, that's that, and have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys later.